In 1972, a young Melanie Renshaw refuses to comb her hair, and her family tells her she can't go out looking like that. Melanie says she loves her wild hair, and nobody wants to deal with that hot comb. In 1990, Tulsa, Oklahoma, now a college student, Melanie is reading her poem about her hair. Her classmates laugh at her, and her professor stops her, clearly not moved, saying it's shallow because hair doesn't have meaning. He obviously never known a black woman. She's told to do the assignment over. Afterwards, Melanie vents to her friend Casey. In the chaos, she collides with a Kevin Armstrong. Oh, he kind of fine. He helps her gather her things, and she seizes the moment to ask if hair matters. He gives a flirtatious response saying he would love to stroke her hair. And you're not the only one who finna do some stroking. At the St. Patrick's Day dance, Kevin sees Melanie make her dramatic entrance. They dance and later sneak off for a quiet chat. Sparks fly, and just like that, they're kissing. They get married and move to Tupelo, Mississippi to meet Kevin's family. They end up getting a flat tire, and Miss Girl has some questionable hair choices. When they drop by the Armstrong home, Melanie runs to meet Ma Betty and Gamam, who are already judging her. She goes in for a hug, but Gamam points her toward the sink. Kevin's sister Dee steps in and leads Melanie inside. Kevin shows up and receives the royal welcome, but the mere mention of Melanie makes the women quiver. At dinner, Ma Betty tries to serve Melanie ham, but Melanie says she gluten-free, vegan, paleo, intermittent fasting, and calorie-free. Gamam insults her, calling her a pig. Melanie escapes for some air, and Dee shows her the salon on the property. Dee feels overwhelmed since her employee is currently on maternity leave, and Melanie says she can help. So Dee gives Melanie a job. On her first day of work, Dee introduces Melanie to everyone, and Melanie gets to shampooing Cynthia. Afterwards, Miss Cynthia is purring like her coochie was just touched for the first time. Melanie becomes popular real quick, with tons of clients wanting to get touched like that. Later, Dee and Melanie talk about how black women are constantly judged for their hair, and that's why many of them wear wigs. You're doomed if you do, and doomed if you don't. The next day, Cynthia is bragging about Melanie's magical hands, and this infuriates Gamam so bad, she turns off the water to Dee's salon, threatening to keep it that way until Melanie is fired. Melanie is hurt by this and voluntarily leaves. Melanie gets a job at Kingsman Women's Shelter. On her first shift, Melanie takes a sip of coffee and immediately regrets it since it tastes like ass. Leona laughs and everyone starts bonding. The women talk about their hair and how much the lack of care affects them. Melanie decides to bring them to the salon while the two old bitter hoes are away. The women from the shelter are so happy to finally get their hair did. That night, Melanie can't sleep and wakes up her mans to tell her about being a hairdresser. Then she rushes to the shelter because burst pipes flooded it. The women have to be moved out of the shelter, and Melanie says goodbye to Leona. Back at home, Kevin helps her dry her hair. She calls it her freedom hair. Melanie ends up getting sick and vomiting. Turns out she's pregnant. At her first checkup, Melanie is amazed at her doctor's hair, who tells her she got it done at a place called Burnetta's in Memphis. It takes Melanie 5 months to get an appointment at Burnetta's. Worth it, though. Burnetta herself does Melanie's hair, and it's gorgeous. Afterwards, Kevin almost doesn't recognize her since she looks like Issa Rae. She's buzzing at her glow-up and wants every black woman to feel like this. However, homegirl don't know how to braid. Melanie is determined to learn and gets $1,200 from her sugar zaddy to join a class. At the hair expo, the instructor Talia announces it's an advanced class and assumes everyone's been braiding for at least 3 years. Of course, Melanie's looks like a white girl did it. Next day, they're given 2 hours to style 3 different clients. The others get straight to work while Melanie massages the mannequin's scalp. Talia is like, da fook. Melanie says she's just getting to know her clients first. She gives her mannequins personalities. Talia calls the class to watch, then announces anyone who didn't talk to their clients has to rip out their work and start over. It's about people first, then hair. After class, Talia says Melanie could be unstoppable as long as she keeps learning by doing. Back at the shelter, Melanie practices on a guard, and everyone loves the result. Soon the baby comes, and Ma Betty hopes to see her grandson, despite being a hoe. Melanie graciously introduces her to Kevin Jr. That night, Melanie's giddy over her earnings, but Kevin notices the toll. Her fingers are stiff, and he doesn't like getting fingered by her anymore. She considers going pro with the braiding, but when she makes a few calls, she finds out getting licensed costs $30,000. She heads to Jackson, and the fatback lady at the desk confirms that it is $30,000. $10,000 for the license, then attend 2,000 hours of cosmetology school, none of which teaches braiding, for another $20,000. The ginger says if Melanie becomes a certified wigologist, she can legally open shop, only costing $1,300. Melanie checks out a cosmetology school, but Etta Travis says wigology hasn't been taught in 15 years. Later, Etta calls Melanie back and tells her she can teach her Wigology using the exam. And so, Melanie aces the exam and officially becomes a licensed Wigologist. Kevin surprises her with a shop. Apparently, he's been stockpiling overtime. May a man like this find me because these voiceovers ain't cutting it. Kevin even lined up her friends from the shelter to work there. Team Melanie is now open for business. The salon takes off. Soon enough, Melanie's not just styling hair. She's teaching the girls too. Things go so well, the local news picks it up. Ma Betty and Dee beam with pride. Gamam, of course, remains stoically unimpressed. But one day she walks in unannounced. She's just there to see her great-grandson. Melanie talks her into a chair, and she gets misty-eyed as she peels off her wig and starts reminiscing about the hair she had before she got sick. But all the girls encourage her, and she even bursts out laughing at a joke.
That's right. Ain't no reason for you to keep going around looking like Beyonce.
Then a man struts in one night and demands to see Melanie's license. She shows it, but he says she don't got a license to teach her students. If she doesn't comply, then he'll arrest her. The girls vent about the licensing board. Then Melanie decides to strike back. She calls the Institute for Justice in Arlington, Virginia. Dana Berliner tells her the State Board of Cosmetology only wants money, and they're known for that. They want to challenge it so they can finally have braiders get proper licensing for working and teaching. The day of the hearing arrives. Dana points out Representative Steve Holland, the committee chair, describing him as smart and fair. Definitely someone Melanie needs on her side. Later, Dana lays out the case. Melanie isn't after money, just a chance to challenge the constitutionality of the law and get it changed or struck down. Holland reminds them it's a long-standing law and remarks on Melanie's boldness in challenging it. Dana whispers to Melanie that they've got their attention. That night, Kevin reveals he's been offered a pastorship but is holding off until the lawsuit wraps up. Melanie pushes him to take it. The lawsuit hits the news and Melanie does an interview, but anxiety crashes her sleep that night. Kevin notices she's up and asks what's wrong. Melanie confesses they're not strong enough, not because they lack courage, but because they're playing by the opponent's rules, trying to change laws that feel rigged. She believes the fight should be theirs to bring on their terms. The night before the hearing, Kevin whisks Melanie away for a surprise. She opens her eyes to find themselves in their church, surrounded by friends and family. Everyone's gathered to say special prayers for her before the big day. Later, Melanie asks if she'll have to speak. Dana says no pressure, but reminds her that without Melanie's voice, it's just Dana echoing. Melanie is the truth in this fight. As they arrive, they pass by some protesters, local cosmetology students who were apparently strong-armed into attendance under threat of failing their course. Luckily, Melanie's supporters are louder and fiercer, chanting "Freedom Hair" and waving signs. Inside the hearing room, Representative Holland calls the session to order. Dana steps up to speak first. She lays it out clearly. Mississippi's current law is a constitutional nightmare, denying braiders like Melanie their right to earn a living. The state's cosmetology rules are a relic from the early 1900s, irrelevant to African hair braiding, but kept intact because they make a lot of money. Meanwhile, thousands of women are shut out, crushed by a system that neither understands nor cares about their craft. Not a single cosmetology school in Mississippi knows a thing about black hair or microbraiding. Time for these laws to get the boot. And here's the bill to fix it. No delays, no fluff. Congressman Billings counters with a microaggression, and I'm about to slap him into another universe. He says nobody wants some random dirty person messing with their hair without a license and a spotless record. Melanie asks for permission to speak. She stands confidently before the chamber, not as a politician, not as a legal expert, but as a woman who found purpose through the art of braiding. She tells the lawmakers that her work began as a way to restore confidence and dignity to Black women. For her, braiding is more than a hairstyle. It's a form of healing and self-expression. She argues that the current licensing laws aren't designed to help braiders, they're designed to shut them out. The Cosmetology Board has no interest in teaching or supporting the craft. They simply want to profit from it. Melanie urges the legislature to pass a bill that would remove braiding from the board's control entirely. She reminds them that she started with no experience. Then, for dramatic effect, she lets her long braids down and gives a hair flip. Then she says she is the voice of any Black woman in Mississippi or in the world that wants to do this for a living. She declares, "Let my people braid." The courtroom bursts into applause. Billings pathetically tries to discredit her, but Holland cuts off the bottom bitch. Holland then makes his ruling with firm clarity. Hair braiding should have never been a matter for lawmakers in the first place. To him, it's unmistakably a cultural tradition, an art form. And if that art can help people earn a living, all the better. He then delivers a decisive blow to the Cosmetology Board, saying he won't support their attempt to impose more regulations. Instead, he urges lawmakers to back Melanie Armstrong's bill, one that would permanently strip the board of any control over hair braiding in Mississippi, and recommends that it be passed by the legislature and signed into law by the governor. They did it. Outside the courthouse, Melanie reads out the ode to her hair she wrote for her psych class. This time, it hits the right audience. This is all based on Melanie's true story. Quite uplifting. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.